Feel the difference with CBD Direct Oils.
CBD oils may have the health benefits for your aches and pains.
Thanks for sponsoring our show.
PDRcontractors.com, developed to connect, promote, and advance the paintless dent repair industry. Start your membership today.
Welcome to another episode of PDR Tool Time. I'm your host, Daniel Grom, along with Vince D'Alessandro and John Renstrom. And today we have a great show. We're doing hail predictions with Derik Kline as our special guest. And I'm really excited about having him on and see what kind of year we're looking at. How are you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you, Daniel? John?
Doing good.
I'm awake and dressed.
Yes.
Shamefully, we're doing video on this. First week back fixing.
Call the makeup girl.
Oh,
yeah. First week back fixing hail. I'm exhausted. My butt got whooped from one end to the next.
So you're a little bit of
around.
You're a little bit of out of season, huh? You got to get seasoned up again.
Boy, the keyboard softens a fella up in a hell of a hurry. 15 months of being a keyboard warrior and dent rods just kicked my butt.
I'm sure. Well, I'm getting a little bit soft.
Everybody's corona free.
Yes, corona free. Yes, I'm getting a little bit soft in the muscles too, not having my daily workflow every day. So I've been
not being able to go to the gym is killing me.
Gym.
Where I'm working at, that the state of Wyoming has yet to have a single COVID related death.
Right. Well, there's only like 10 people in your city or something, right? Working on.
Yeah. For you guys sitting at home, I took a shot on my way to work last Monday and sent it to Vince and Daniel. And, you can see 5 miles of interstate and one other car.
Yeah. Middle of nowhere.
Social distancing is called every day. That was a way of life already.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, great. Well, let's dive right into it and bring in our special guest, Derik Kline from Trace. Sorry.
I like to chase it,
Derik.
Too,
Now, Derik, we had you on before in the past about this time last year. So that want to welcome you to the show and thanks for coming on again and entertaining our guests for a little bit.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. I'm excited. I like talking hail. So anytime you want somebody to come on and talk about hail, invite me. I love it.
Well, I hope you have a lot of good news for everybody with everything that's going on. Our industry really, really needs it right now.
Yeah, it's definitely been weird. It's even weird. Like in our office, we've got 19 employees and they're all working from home. So it's kind of weird we do a lot of Zoom stuff with our team. So it's been different trying to communicate back and forth. And you've got 6 meteorologists trying to navigate who's on what storm, who's tracking which one. And, days like we've had the last couple of weeks, there's been some pretty active weather. And so trying to keep that all organized and going in the right direction has been a new challenge to take. But, it's been good too. I mean, we're, kind of learning to work as a team a little better. So
would you consider this a slow start to the season? Because we're in April now.
Slow start, yeah, compared to average, I would say yes. Compared to the last 2 years, I would say no. It's been a more active start than the last 2 years.
Oh, okay.
But some of that depends on, what your perception is of, because like last year, Dallas, Texas had a $1.1 billion lost hailstorm on March 24th. So you're going to go, wow.
Yeah.
And I would say combined total storms, we're probably in the same ballpark for loss value, but they're spread out from West Virginia to Michigan to Chicago to Iowa to, Jefferson City, St. Louis, Oklahoma City, Tulsa. I can't even think of all the Meridian, Mississippi. So like that, it's just been more spread out this year.
Which I think is good. It's guys spread out. So I think there's more work in that case. Would you say that is correct?
I would say so. I think, I don't know how, I'm not for sure how you guys have been on the industry as far as going out to work. Cause I know, a lot of guys are just kind of waiting for this to kind of settle down, hoping, first part of May, maybe mid-May, somewhere in there, who knows when, but hopefully somewhere in there we can kind of start to ease back into life as normal. And if that's the case, we're going to have a plethora of storms that it's going to be, which one do you want to go work? And so I think that's going to scatter everything. And in some ways, it might help people have better business years, more profitable years, because that first storm that you go to, you may not be fighting over as much. The first storm you go to might just be the storm that you can work and really take control of. So
sure.
If you kind of land that perfect storm, I guess.
And a lot of guys won't necessarily have to travel that far from home.
Exactly.
Seeing that it's more spread out, that might be more beneficial for our industry as well. And then the fact that our borders are pretty much closed. So, we don't have the people coming from South America right now. The tech's coming, and Europe. I think those are going to be few and far between.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that should also lead to some more. So, but if you look at what we've had so far hail wise, one of the easy ways to do it is just to take the number of reports that have come in. So, how many hail reports have we had in the U.S.? And I can tell you, April 7th and April 8th, there were more reports of hail in that 2-day period than the entire month of March this year. There were almost as many reports in that 2-day period as the entire month of April in 2018. So that 2-day stretch was super active. And it was probably one of the more active 2-day stretches that the U.S. has had probably in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Mainly because of just how spread out it was. I mean, we had stuff from North Carolina to Iowa, and then all the way down to Mississippi. And so in Wisconsin, I saw a picture of 2-inch hail in Wisconsin, and it looked like there was hail all over the ground underneath. Like he was holding it and you could see it looked like hail on the ground underneath it, but it was actually snow. I was like, that doesn't happen very often.
No. Oddly enough, I was born on April 8th, 1974. And back, if you go into the record books, on the 7th and 8th, there was a huge tornado outbreak in 1974 that covered most of the Midwest. And my mom always told me I was one of them. So
I have to agree with that.
But but it covered all the way from, I think, Oklahoma all the way up to Minnesota, and it was a big swath of tornadoes and hail.
When you said that year, that's my head automatically went to that, just being in the meteorology community. That's one of the outbreaks that that's kind of known. There's a handful of days that you just kind of trigger you. So that's one of them.
So let's dive into it. Why don't you show us a little bit of your predictions of what you think's going to be?
Yeah, let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll kind of show you how we got from nothing, like who knows what's going to happen, to an actual forecast that we can work off of, and then hopefully give you guys an idea of what's going to happen. And what's kind of cool is, so we're doing this obviously in April right now. So we made this forecast back in January. So we do this pretty early in the year, and we've released it in a few different locations, but we actually have a better idea now because we're a little closer into the year. So it kind of gives us an idea of, were we on the right track or not. So,
and Derik,
you guys will get to see if we were or not.
One thing we want to mention too is, if you're listening to this on the podcast, this will be on our YouTube channel, so you could tune in and actually see the visuals that we're seeing right now, and Derik's about to share with us.
Awesome. So what we want to do when we start off with a forecast, we like to look at all the different years from the past, right? And so we'll look at different weather patterns that are occurring in the U.S. and that have been occurring over the last several years. And let me double check, make sure you guys can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to look at all of these different years, and then the current pattern that we're in, and we're going to go, which one of these years match up with that pattern? Right. And that gives us a really good idea. So then we can go, okay, if it was 1993, 2000, whatever, right? So we can find all these years, and then we can go, what was the weather like in those years during the spring months? And so we'll look at February in that year, March, April, May, and then we'll go to the next year that looks similar, and we'll plug that in. Now, what tends to happen is we find a trend. We go, oh wow, look, this month was really similar every single year across the board. And sometimes there'll be like an anomaly. So there'll be one month where it's a little bit different, but it gives us a really good kind of an overview picture. Now, what you have to be careful with in weather is it's real easy to take a single event and go, this one event is what's going to drive could be looked at as a driver in the weather. But typically it's really easy to have a singular event. And an example of that would be the April 7th and April 8th of this year. That was one storm system, but it was a really big storm system.
Yeah.
The overall pattern, that's not what our pattern has been in the US this year. That one storm system though took on that pattern. And so it did some different things than what's been typical, but it'll look a lot bigger because of how big that storm was. So that's kind of the thing that we have to be careful with. But so what we like to do is first of all is just look at comparison from year to year. I wish I had 2020 up here for January, February, and March, because it'd be interesting to kind of look at those. But just to put it into perspective, April 7th and April 8th, we had around we actually went over. So it was about 515 to 530 reports of hail.
Just in 2 days.
Here is April of 2018, the entire month.
Yeah.
529. And then last year, 647. And then check out March, both years just destroyed, nothing on any of those. So now that's not typical. So, you can see 2017, which was a fairly above average season, 1,200 and 1,400 reports. So much higher numbers in those years compared to the last couple of years. So that's always interesting stuff to look at. One of the things that we always like to hone people in on, average in the U.S. is around 7,200 reports of hail. So that's typically kind of where we're at. Last year, we finished slightly above average, but pretty close to average, 7,600. Some of you might kind of go, well, wait a minute. Last year didn't really feel like a great year. And we've heard a lot of people say that. It depends on obviously what storms you got on, and you might have found that slam dunk storm, and it was a great year. So business is different than weather, but overall there might have been less cars to work than what you're used to, or maybe more people working the same storms than what you're used to. And some of the reasoning behind a slightly above average year and that difference, that offset, would be the fact that a lot of the hail happened. If we look, it was during the months of August. See how we had a jump back up? That typically does not happen. We typically continue to slide down from August to September and October.
Sure.
But August was the second busiest hail month for August that the U.S. has ever had. And September was the busiest September that the U.S. has ever had. But the issue with that, and this is actually what set last year apart and kind of made that perception of, wow, it was above average for the amount of hail, but the amount of work maybe wasn't above average. The reason why that is when it hails in July, August, and September, the jet stream is really far north in the U.S. And when it's really far north, you're talking about one car on a 5-mile stretch in Wyoming. It's up north. That's where it hails at. It hails in Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota. So in all of those areas. And so that's what sets that apart. So
that's population.
Yeah. So when we get all that hail, it looks like if you just look at the numbers for what they are, you go, wow, there's a lot of hail, but there's a lot of hail in North Dakota and South Dakota and Nebraska and Northeast Colorado. And
no one's there.
It's a little different.
No one's there except for John.
That's right. Cleaning up though.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully not everybody tries to go there though, because if you get 3 of you up there, it's probably too much.
Right.
So you're talking about that happening in August, September, but here we are in April, and we've had some pretty monster storms that have happened north. We're talking Michigan, eastern South Dakota just had a bunch of hail. Well, not large hail, but it still did hail. Is that, how unusual is that for this time of year?
It's pretty rare. So I say it's not like impossible to get a storm system to take that northern track. If we went back and looked at a 15-year stretch of weather, we're probably going to find a handful of storm systems that have done that. It's pretty rare. One of the things meteorologically, so we look at the jet stream, and typically this time of year, the jet stream comes out of the southwest. It digs down into northern Mexico or New Mexico or Arizona, and then it ejects out into the plains out of the southwest. So it comes across, southwest Texas and then up into Oklahoma, Kansas, and then it shifts and moves across the country like that. Well, that particular pattern, the jet stream was actually coming out of Canada, which is really rare. And typically this time of year, that means super cold air is coming down too. And we're going to see that next week. So we're going to have a southwest flow that's going to come in. It's going to give us a bunch of severe weather over the weekend. I think some people are going to see this on Monday, probably Monday or Tuesday, I think you said when you released this. So you're going to see that there was a big outbreak on Sunday in the southeast. And maybe I'm wrong on that. You guys can judge me on that afterwards. But
I don't know. We're supposed to get cold up here, and it seems like it's cold here. It's warm down there. All hell breaks loose in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's more typical. But so that was a really unusual pattern to have that. I mean, we're glad that it happened because it definitely produced a lot of hell. But that's very, very untypical. And so when we do this forecast, we don't plan for stuff like that to happen. That's impossible to forecast a singular event that's going to be kind of out of the norm. So when we do a forecast, we're looking at like a kind of a broad paintbrush of, most of the activity is going to be down in here. But if one storm system decides to meander off the track and run up into, Wisconsin like that one did, well, they're going to get some storms up there. So, there's obviously the one-offs that can do that. And probably everybody will remember this year for that storm system. Even though if you look, most of the jet stream and the actual weather pattern has been down in Texas and kind of in that part of the country. And we're kind of seeing that shift now. So we're going to start to see a lot more of Oklahoma is going to start coming into play a lot more. Arkansas is going to continue to kind of get theirs for a little bit, but we're going to start to see Kansas start to come into play a little bit more. So we'll kind of see how some of that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. The only one in Texas really is Lubbock. Although I think Texas got walloped yesterday with something.
There was some really big hail out in the middle of nowhere in Texas. I think it hit one car and his name was Reed Timmer. I don't know if you guys saw that video. That was if you haven't seen that video, you got to go watch it. That's not one that y'all want to fix, but it was a pretty epic video. So I watched it. I was like, oh, I wish I was there.
Yeah.
So. One of the big weather patterns, though, that we look at, there are several of them. There's one called the PDO, the MJO. One of the big ones is El Nino and La Nina. Most of you guys have probably heard of that.
Yeah.
And so we've been fairly neutral. We've actually been that way in the U.S. now for, it's not saying the Pacific. It's not actually the U.S., but it's been that way. The Pacific Ocean's been in a neutral phase, kind of maybe meandering into La Nina or El Nino, just briefly touching one or the other, but really staying kind of center lined.
Yeah.
We've been that way for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And we don't really expect that to change. So this is kind of our chances that we think things will change. So we think we'll kind of meander around, but again, we don't think through the summer months, we don't think much change is actually going to happen.
No, I could tell you that, I'm in California, Southern California, the water is still friggin' cold. So
yeah. Does it actually get warm there though?
Not really.
I always tell people, so I'm from Oklahoma and I'm a baby when it comes to cold water. So I have this rule. It's the rule of 82s that I have to live by.
Yeah.
So it's 2 82s is what it means. It means the temperature has to be 82 and the water temperature has to be 82, and then I'm good to go.
Yeah, so. we're like on a good year, we might get up to 65 or 68.
Yeah. So you won't find me in that water. My kids will get in there, but I'm out.
We just got all the ice off of our water. It's good. It's warm.
Yeah. All you guys up north, I'm a big baby when it comes to cold. So, what was that?
What are we looking at now on the screen?
Okay, so these are the years that we found that we had matches in with our weather pattern. So last year was a pretty good match. We thought 1994 was a good match, 1991, 2004, 1993, 2003 and 1997 also had some similarities. Some of that was based off of the fires that happened in Australia. All of the analog years were at least average, if not above average. 1993 was the only year of all those that had a quiet April. So remember, outside of last year, of course, but so remember that last year was fairly quiet, and so far this year, April has not. So like when we looked, and so when we pulled all these analog years, a trend was only one of them actually had the quiet April. So we were kind of like, maybe we're not going to actually pull off a quiet April this year. So we'll kind of show that as we get into our graphics.
Let me ask you a question, Derik. The fires that happen in Australia, does that affect the weather pattern at all?
It sure does. So part of that is the weather pattern that Australia has is affecting the fires. So it's the fires now they do, so they can cloud seed and stuff like that, right? So in order to get a water droplet to form in our atmosphere, we have to have a seed, which is like ash or dust or dirt or pollution, even any of that type of stuff. So that allows water to condense on it, and that's how we get water droplets to form in the atmosphere, and then clouds can form off those water droplets. So we need fires and volcanoes. That stuff is part of the natural cycle of Earth. Now, obviously, we don't want to burn the entire country like that was, but overall, what we were looking at was not necessarily that there were fires in Australia. We were looking at what type of pattern was causing them to have all the fires in Australia, and then how does that affect our weather in the full pattern. So it's kind of neat to look at weather patterns, because you can watch. I was talking with some other meteorologists yesterday, and the National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma, has this huge globe in their. If you're ever in Oklahoma, I think you can go in. I want to say anytime you can go do a tour of the National Weather Service in Norman. It's the nicest National Weather Service of all of them, all over the country. The Storm Prediction Center is based out of there as well, and so this is Norman, Oklahoma. But they have this big globe that has all the weather, like satellite of the entire world, and it's in an actual globe, so you can walk around it and see the clouds all the way around the Earth, and it's live.
Wow!
They had played this. I don't know. He wasn't for sure if it was like a 90-day cycle that they were playing on it of the clouds. So it was like 90 days of satellite. And you could watch this storm came off of the Himalaya mountains, and it kicked out this air that rushed out in front of it. And it made it to the desert, which caused a haboob, like a big dust storm. And then it moved. As soon as it moved out of the desert, that wind shift basically kicked off thunderstorms, which moved into the Atlantic Ocean, then formed into a tropical system, which moved. That tropical system hurricane ended up staying south, crossed over into the Pacific Ocean, reformed into another hurricane that curved and went up into Japan, and then curved all the way back around, formed and made this huge winter storm in Alaska, and then ended up going across Canada and then getting sucked up into the polar vortex in the north, on the North Pole, and then getting sucked in and wrapped around into that. Crazy. So over a 90-day pattern, you could follow it from a single thunderstorm that formed over the Himalaya mountains and then rushed out, and then went all the way across, formed a hurricane, formed this huge winter storm, like all these different, all from one thunderstorm that formed. So
that's crazy.
It's kind of neat to see how all that stuff cycles around the globe like that.
Yeah.
Now, can we buy one of these globes on Sharper Image?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I would love to have one in my office.
Where's
I
it,
don't
Norman?
know how many billions it costs, but
Norman, Oklahoma, right?
It's Norman, Oklahoma.
Is that close to Joe Exotic at all?
It's only about an hour from there, actually. Yeah, really? You can get there really quick here. I think there was at one point Joe Exotic was trying to get into PDR. He started jumping out into some storms. I don't know if you guys watched the feed there. I know. I'm pretty sure he was trying to get in. I thought I had a photo here if I can find the. I guess I'm sharing my screen, so I can't throw it up there. But
Oklahoma is like the hotbed. It has always been for hail, right? So it's like, it's
so you've got Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and Colorado are probably your biggest hail cities, or not cities, but states in the country. I mean, you can't get much better than those areas.
Sure. So you could probably take a class in high school as an elective to become a hail chaser or a meteorologist or a dent guy.
You probably could. They didn't when I was in high school. Now I did actually intern at our local news channel when I was in high school, but I think that was just because I was a nerd. So
yeah, that's cool.
Anybody that's willing to get up at 3:00 in the morning and put a suit on and then wear a suit to high school, you're probably pretty nerdy. So
yeah, that's all right.
So what's your prediction now with the hail season coming up? What do you think we're looking at?
The patterns.
So we like to break it down into two sections. So we like to say, what are the chances of this year being below average, or above average? And then we like to break it down into where in the country and then based off of month, because different months are going to have activity in different locations. So here are our chances of a below. So this is probably great news for everybody. So this is kind of what we're forecasting for this year.
Nice.
And if anything, the above average right now. So again, we made this way back in January, right? So if anything right now, the above average chances are probably higher right now than what they were.
Very cool.
When we made this. So, and below average is probably lower. So, March was below average this year, but that was part of our forecast. We forecasted March would be below average. We think April will be near average, which right now it's above average. But I think next week we're going to bring that back into check a little bit. Next week looks a little slow and cold, so we shouldn't see a whole lot of storms during that week. And then it looks like it picks back up again for the second half of April, which should kick us into an average to maybe slightly above average April.
Nice.
And then May and June look like it's going to go kind of bonkers. So it should be some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Do you post this anywhere?
Do we post it anywhere?
Yeah, and does it change when you post it?
This is still the same graphic that we had. So we did this, we did it on Facebook. So we did a Facebook live video, I think on March 12th on our Hail Trace page that this is on there.
Yeah. And for you hail technicians,
the graphics that we use. So
yeah, and all the hail technicians that are listening to us, you should be following Hail Trace on Facebook, and then your website as well is hailtrace.com, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So
if you want to subscribe for the maps,
feel free to post this stuff on our Facebook page if you want to, post anything that's newsworthy.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys don't follow us on there, we do live coverage. If you're a PDR tech, you're not really running a company, but you're maybe trying to decide if you want to go work a storm. You don't want to buy a service like that. My lead meteorologist does live coverage during big hail events. You can watch him on radar. He's giving you intersections. I mean, we're trying to help you guys out as much as we can. It might be a really, really easy way to get some information about a storm. Because it's hard to put all the details that we know in a single hail map. A lot of times we know volume of hail, we know if it was isolated. So we'll see guys jump on, we'll have a 3-star map, which to us is not that great of a map. And also we always tell people to keep in mind that we work for multiple industries, right? So we do maps for the PDR industry, but we also do them for roofers. We also do them for adjusters. We even have insurance companies that use us for this stuff. And so the rating of a map is kind of a broad scale, right? So a storm that might be a 5-star for a roofer might be a 1-star for a PDR because it might have just destroyed everything, right?
Yeah.
Or a storm that might be a 5-star for a PDR tech might be a 2-star for a roofer because it was, quarter size hail. It wasn't enough to damage a roof.
Yeah.
And so if you have questions before you buy a map, ask us. We'll tell you if we think it was good for your industry. But when we post a star level, it's kind of a broad stroke, right? We're not trying to misinform people, but it's hard to cover all the different variables that could be in a storm. So feel free to ask us. We'll let you talk to our meteorologist. We'll tell you if we think it was a good storm, and if it's worth buying. We're not going to try to guide you down the wrong path.
Sure.
And so, and a lot of times the meteorologists, they can tell volume. There's a lot of cool stuff that they can do. One thing they can't tell is if it was soft or hard, unfortunately. So, but sometimes there's some indicators that it was hard, if we're getting photos of broken windows and stuff like that can go a long way. So
Now for our listeners that have never used your service or not acquainted with it, when you say buy a map, what does that mean?
Yeah, so if you were to purchase a singular map, so we break our maps down by state. So if it hails in Texas today, which it actually already has, but let's say there's hail in Texas, you would buy the map that would cover everything that happens in Texas. And so if it hails in rural Texas, we're gonna make that probably a 1-star map. It doesn't matter how big the hail got. The storm yesterday that hit. So there was a little bit of hail in Odessa, Texas on Saturday, or Friday. I'm sorry, Friday, April the 10th. So There was massive hail in the middle of nowhere in Texas, but then a single storm hit the west side of Odessa. And it dropped some quarter size hail. It looked like it had some pretty decent volume of like penny, nickel, and quarter size hail. So we made that a 2-star map because the hail wasn't really big that actually hit Odessa, but it was enough that it wasn't a 1-star map. But that big hail that happened that hit, 10 people, that didn't go into effect the star level of that map.
Right.
But if a storm went through Dallas, Fort Worth with golf ball size hail or 2-inch hail, that's going to be a 5-star map.
Yeah, and that's going to show like streetwise, like down to the houses and stuff. That
absolutely. Right? All the way down to the houses. And depending on your subscription level with our service, you can click on the house and it'll tell you who lives there and what their email address and their phone number. You guys can't knock doors. I don't know if guys are knocking doors, but if they are, it's kind of difficult right now, right? But what if you could get an email address and send them a personal email? So that stuff is possible within our software. You literally click on the rooftop, it'll tell you the storm that hit them, and then you can click on their email address and it'll pop up your email and you can type up an email and send it over to them.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So some fun stuff. And you could even do bulk emails too. So you could say, send me a list of every hailstorm that has occurred, or not every hailstorm, but every person that was impacted with 2-inch hail by this hailstorm. And it would give you a list of all 10,000 of those people.
Yeah.
So some pretty cool stuff that you can do. You have to get creative and you have to use it, right? So it's really important to build a process around how to sell with that data. It's one thing to get it. It's another thing to actually do something with it. And so that'll take some work, but ideally, or not ideally, but I'm sure there's a lot of people kind of sitting around looking for ways to market and be a little bit different right now. So, learn how to do that right now. I think it's a great time to learn that. And what we're hoping is that people will, when this whole pandemic moves out, that people will have 2 avenues now of being able to produce income instead of 1. And so you can actually be more profitable and more effective. And so, one resource might be more of a digital platform and how we do that. Another one might be more of a ground game where, you've got signs and door hangers and door knockers and that kind of stuff. So, there's nothing wrong with either one of them. They both work really well. So, learn one of them right now because you're being forced to, and then hopefully you can come out of this with both.
Oh, sure.
Under your belt.
It's one of those, like a lot of people are taking those master classes and things like that. Learn how to play guitar, learn how to do this. You know what? Learn how to promote your business better in a storm. And how to market.
We're a digital company, obviously, and so we do a lot of that stuff. But we're learning a lot of really cool things. There's so many cool tools out there. We just implemented one called BombBomb. It's video emails. And it's not, and I'm talking about like click a link and it takes you to a web page to watch the video. Like the video is in the email, and it get tagged. Like every time someone watches the video, it lets you know that they watched the video, and you can create really cool email content. And if they watch this video, you can make it send them another video. Like there's all kinds of really cool stuff out there. And that's one of them that we've been building content for that we're real excited about.
So this chart that you have up now, we're talking some very little activity. Now, you're saying month by month, and we're going to roll through this kind of in March. I guess we probably need to start in April because that's where we are now.
So this just shows you how we did. This is actually the most activity. We said below average, but most of the activity would be in the yellow. That's where it was. So that was, we felt like we did pretty good on that one for March. As we jump into April, this was kind of what we thought. And it's kind of funny because we did have the little yellow bubble. Obviously, we had quite a bit of activity in Detroit and Pittsburgh, which is kind of on the edge there. But, it's kind of interesting that we had that there. But it has been fairly dead in the Southeast. Hasn't been a lot down there. And most of the activity is, and I think we'll see as we go through the month, obviously, that we're going to see most of the activity to occur, at least for hail, will occur here. There may be tornadoes in the Southeast, but and high wind events, but hail-wise, this red area is where we think most of the activity will be during the month of April. So as we go on to May, the jet stream starts to lift to the north, and so we start to see more activity. So down along the Gulf Coast, we see it kind of gets a little harder to make hail. The front range starts to kind of open the door up, stays above average in the plains this year. Up near the Canada border, still a little cool up there. You might have a few events, but should see more of it start in June. And then near average activity all across the Ohio, Tennessee Valley, the Great Lakes, and the East Coast, Northeast, up in that area.
Yeah.
Then as we head into June, again, jet stream all the way up into Canada now. We open the door for Canada to start getting some hail. The south really starts to wind down. Not saying there won't be any hail. There will be some hail, but typically a lot less than what you'd have in the spring months. Colorado should be rocking and rolling. Should be big time across that area, and then near average activity across the Northeast and the Great Lakes and the Northern Plains. Now, we basically stop in June with our forecast, so we don't go into July, August, and September. But I would expect that you'll probably see above average activity, possibly as far east as Chicago, if we went a little further, and then up into North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. Probably not Kansas, but probably Denver, up into Montana. Kind of that whole Northern Plains area, all the way over to somewhere close to Lake Michigan, I would say would kind of be your above average area. Near average in the Northeast, and then kind of stays slow in the Southeast and the Southern Plains because it's summertime. They're baking.
So looking at your map here, it's kind of interesting. And I'm going to have my little pointer on my own screen here, but your above average on that red really draws kind of a hard line right down that mountain range in Colorado. That is really a hard divider, and we really don't see much going west of there at all.
It's really difficult to make hail west of the Rocky Mountains. So there's two things. The reason why the U.S. gets so much hail, one of those things is because of the Rocky Mountains. But the other side of it is that one of the reasons why there's nothing west of there is because of the Rocky Mountains as well. Basically what happens is storm systems. I don't know. Can you guys see my cursor on there?
Yeah.
Okay. So storm systems, they tend to drop out of the Northwest, right? And they dig into California and Arizona. But what happens is the Rocky Mountains are right here. And also they have the air is being sucked in from the southeast. And so when they kick out into California, they're sucking in over this desert right here. And the reason why this is a desert is because Mexico is down here and no moisture can get pulled up into this area. So it's really hard to get real thick moisture. Well, as this storm system kicks out, right as it crests the top of the Rockies, then the inflow starts to come in. Well, now all of a sudden we've got the Gulf of Mexico down here that's like, hey, I got some water for you. And so it starts to pull all that moisture up to the north. And we could actually watch that like today, right now. There's literally, you can, in Oklahoma City, so dew point is the best way to measure moisture. So this morning when I got up, our dew point in Oklahoma City was 42. By this afternoon, it'll be close to 65. But we have a storm system kicking out and it's pulling moisture up as fast as it can up into Oklahoma right now. Now, the Rocky Mountains, what make it such a sharp cutoff is when this storm system crests over the top, the winds will be coming out of the west behind it. So it goes counterclockwise around the storm system and everything flows into the low pressure. And so that forces the air to come off the Rockies and it sinks. So the air is blowing off the Rockies and down, which is a drying, warming air. And so that creates a dry line that butts into all this moisture that we have that forms up. And that's why we get so much hail out here.
And that's what gives us Tornado Alley.
That's exactly right. So it's the Rocky Mountains, the Gulf of Mexico, and then Canada gives us the cold air to mix all those three together. And it's just the perfect environment for hail. But west of the Rockies, it's just really hard to get the moisture that you need to create. Not to say it doesn't happen, because it does. We typically, we'll make a 3 or maybe a 4-star map west of the Rockies somewhere every year. Maybe in Idaho or Oregon or
Salt Lake City somewhere.
Got a 3-star map last year. So somebody gets one, but it's just really hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, I think, our listeners, especially who have really worked hard and gained their Plain States footholds, make sure that you talk to your accounts here. Keep up with everybody, because the next couple of months could be, if we're following this chart and we're following the historical trends that you guys have been pretty good at, you might want to be calling and sending those donuts and maybe a 12-pack of toilet paper to your accounts. Butter them guys up right now.
What would be a smarter thing, John, is if they got a membership to PDR contractors, they can get contracts and lock those accounts up with contracts. So they're ready for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go to PDR contractors and get that locked up.
That's right. get yourself
So
going.
you've got to be proactive, right? I mean, or preemptive, not reactive. On all this stuff. I mean, there's that. I think if anybody, it's definitely easy to say that, you've lost some sales, right? That's fairly easy to do in this time, right? So there's some people that are a little scared, right? They don't know what's going on. And so maybe they're not buying as much.
Yeah.
But keep filling your pipeline. That's the one thing that you can control right now is I can put as much into my sales pipeline as possible and nurture that and mature it. And then that way, as soon as the floodgates open, you actually have floodgates to open. If you're just sitting around waiting on this to end, you're going to have to fill your pipeline when it's over with. And the people that have already filled that, they're going to take over all that stuff on you. So make sure that you're, nurturing your accounts and taking care of those right now, even if you can't go work them for whatever reason.
Exactly.
I don't know what the PDR industry, if it's essential or non-essential or how that's being looked at, but it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that when this is over with, people are going to want their cars fixed. And the person that's been up ahead of this and talking to their accounts, they're going to, as soon as day one opens, they're going to be there at their door ready to go. And
exactly. Here we are early April, and we're kind of discussing what's a good possibility for June. Now, for myself, when I was a full-time hail chaser in that early February time, man, that's when I started talking with the companies that I worked with in Dallas. Because I knew by March Dallas was going to get hit. So those of you that work that, say the Front Range corridor right there in that Denver and that Colorado Springs, that sort of stuff, if you're home now and you're not there working, even if you didn't, Northern Colorado didn't see a whole lot last year compared to Colorado Springs, but you should be talking with the people that you're normally working with there. Even if you're sitting at home doing nothing, get on the phone with them, get hooked up, make sure that you, if you're in with PDR contractors, make sure that you put down that you're going to be ready to go and be ready to move on this thing. COVID's going to be around for a while, but the lockdown's not going to be around forever. And if you're not ready to move fast, you might miss the entire season from everybody who is ready to move fast.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. That's kind of, I think that's in any business model too. Everybody's, you've got to be active right now, even if it's just a call to, ask how their family's doing and, just top of mind. You want to be top of mind.
Yep.
Well, let me ask you this. We only have a few more minutes, but, if people want to sign up, how do they do that? How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way to do that would be, there's a couple of ways. You can hop on our website. We have the plans listed out there, but I think for everybody that's watching the show today, I'd like to throw a little something out there to anybody that in the PDR industry that's watching. So if you guys will call into the office or use our chat on our website, let them know that you watched the podcast today and. So I'm going to throw, especially with all the COVID stuff, and I know all that stuff's kind of hampering business right now, we're going to throw a 15% discount on anything that you decide to get with us. Just say, hey, I was watching the podcast, and we're going to take care of you. So
that's awesome, man. We really appreciate that.
What's that phone number?
So our phone number here at the office is 855-334-4245. Or you can email us at info@helltrace.com. That would be another great way to reach out to us. And then if you're on our website in the bottom right corner, there's a little blue chat button. Just click on that and you start a conversation, and that'll go out to my entire team as well.
And that number one more time?
Say that what?
Your phone number one more time?
It's 855-334-4245.
Perfect. Awesome. Yep.
We'll put that in the show notes so guys can click on it.
Exactly. Awesome. They can click on it directly and look you guys up. Well, Derik, we want to thank you for coming on again.
You take that off the share.
What's that?
How do we take the share screen? Get back to.
Yeah, Derik, you want to go ahead and just cancel your share screen for us, please?
Sorry, yep.
No problem. So, yeah, you know what? We'll obviously have Derik on again. He doesn't mind coming on and talking hail with us and letting you guys know what's cooking out there. And we really appreciate you coming on once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
All right.
So
thank you.
we're gonna change gears real quick. We have to call Hudson Tansey because we do have a contest coming up this week that we're going to get a hold of Hudson. He wanted to personally talk about it. So
he's buried with work at the moment. So he couldn't join us this morning. So we got to interrupt his day just a little bit here, get him on the phone, have him throw this idea out. And
John, while we're waiting for him to call in, with the COVID-19 stuff and the early hailstorms, they're probably not going to send out cat teams. Can that be an advantage for guys as far as estimates go, or is that a disadvantage? What do you think will go on there?
All right. Sorry, Daniel. You kind of broke up a little bit on me. I didn't get to hear all that.
No, I'm sorry.
Do you think cat teams are going to show up to storms, John?
I think we're going to see such a surge in photo claims, honestly.
Yeah, bench claims.
I've already seen some of our customers talking about that. Farmers was one of them specifically.
Yeah. Well, cool. We got Hudson on the line. He's going to talk to us about the competition that we have going up, or the contest, I should say. It's not really a competition. So Hudson.
Hey, Hudson.
Hi there, fellas.
What's going on, brother?
Oh, nothing. Just waiting for the storm to come through over here.
Oh, you got another storm, huh?
Yeah, it looks like we have another pretty bad storm.
Oh, we lost you. Hello. The storm got him. So much for 5G down in Houston. So, hey, Derik, he's down in Houston.
All right. Well, we'll see if we can get him back. But yeah, I think.
Crap. There we go.
Okay. All right. There you go.
My kids turned on the Bluetooth speaker. Had to go home.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, do you want to share with our listening audience about the contest we have going on? Seeing that it was your brilliant mind that came up with it.
I don't think it was my brilliant mind that came up with it, honestly, but it was collectively.
Okay, collectively. All right. You were one of the brilliant minds, and you speak better than all of us, so go ahead.
All right, so here's the idea. Right now, we got a kind of a tough time going on with the pandemic, and everyone's kind of feeling it, and that includes wonderful dent tool companies, right? You guys can hear me all right now?
Yep, go ahead.
All right, so we want to find a way to support them. So we contacted we're going to do the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to have 3 companies that we highlight. And what we want to do is we're going to want to flood them with 1 to 2 tool orders. Now, if you don't have work right now and you can't afford to do this, we are not expecting you to do that at all. Take care of your family first. But for those of you that are still able to work, like myself, these 3 companies that we're highlighting this week, let's all go and flood them with like 50 to 100, individual 1 to 2 tool orders. And that's food on the table for their families. So the 3 tool companies that we want to do this week is PDR Finesse, Blehm Tools, and Anson. And what they've decided to do, since we want to do this, is they're going to offer free shipping to the lower 48. So that's all the United States except for Alaska and Hawaii. I'm sorry, guys. And so what we can do is, starting today, when you hear this podcast, until next week's podcast, so the 14th to 21st, you will have free shipping if you put in the code PDR Tool Time. All lowercase, no spaces, just PDR Tool Time. You'll get free shipping. Go order 1 tool, 2 tools. I know me personally, when I go to there's a couple tools I want from almost every company, and I never go and buy it because I'm like, crap, this is like a $60 tool, but it's going to be like $20 in shipping. Well, guess what? I don't have that problem right now. So I'm going to go on there and buy all these tools and support these smaller tool companies during this kind of craziness that's going on.
Now, on the flip side of that, if once you do purchase these tools from any of these 3 selected companies this week, which is Blehm, Anson, and PDR Finesse, you take a picture of your receipt and post it on our PDR Tool Time Facebook page, and you will be entered in a contest. We will randomly pick, and I'm going to have probably at least 5 packages put together by these companies and some of the tools that I have laying around from these companies, and there'll be gift bags given out to you.
Yeah, at least an inspection wedge for each person at least as well,
Yeah. So those the bags will be worth $50 or more each bag, and there'll be at least 5 of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's going to be great.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do. Let's go support these companies because unlike dent guys, I know some of us guys, work's definitely slowed down, but we still have the ability to kind of drum up work if we want to. Tool companies is kind of like, it's a different story, right?
Yeah. So, well, cool. Hudson,
list those three companies one more time.
Yeah.
PDR Finesse, Blehm, and Anson. And the code is PDR Tool Time. That's the discount code. It starts on the 14th and it ends on the 21st. And let's go support these. We've talked to them all personally, and they're all super grateful. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Hudson. We're going to move on. We got to call jolly old England real quick and get an update of what's going on over there. All right. If you want to stay on, stay on. If actually you cannot stay on, we'll talk to you later.
I'm not staying on.
Okay. Bye. Blow him up. All right. So I also wanted to, we have a ton of listeners over in England, and I just wanted to touch base with Kevin Andrews over there. Normally, when we call Kevin, it's the middle of the night. It happens to not be the middle of the night, so he might be awake enough.
Derik needs to head out. So, Derik, we really appreciate you coming on. We'll see you down the line. Take care.
Absolutely, guys.
Stay safe.
Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
Bye. All right, Derik. Thanks, bud.
Bye.
So, Kevin, on WhatsApp, answer your phone.
Free ringy dingies.
Yeah, he's been very busy cooking a lot of barbecue over there.
Hello.
Yes, during the COVID crisis in England, he's been cooking a lot of barbecue.
Hey, Kev.
Oh, yeah. How you doing, guys? All right?
Yeah, we're good. How are you?
Oh, very well. Very well.
Well, we got an opportunity to talk to you during the day rather than in the middle of the night when we normally call you.
I know. Thank you very much. Or
You're
waking
welcome.
up at stupidly early o'clock in the morning.
Yes, you're welcome.
I hear you don't sleep anyway, so I don't feel so bad.
Well, exactly. How you all keeping?
Good.
Not bad.
Corona free.
Yeah.
Everyone's corona-free for now.
Good.
Yes. So,
Good.
what's the news over there with TDN and your tools and whatnot? Are you open for business? We do have a large following from the island of England.
We are open. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to ship anything. So I say we're open. The online store is open for orders, but we're not allowed to go in and physically pack them and send them at the moment. So we just this weekend we've just heard the lockdowns be moved on for another 3 weeks, I believe.
Holy moly!
So we're just sitting tight, and any orders that are coming in, obviously we'll hold the stock. But the manufacturer of the tool cart, they've had to close down as well. So they won't be producing anything just yet.
It sounds like you guys are taking it pretty serious over there in England.
It is pretty. Everyone's, for the most part, everyone's abiding by the rules. And to be fair, there's always exceptions to the rule. There's always the ones that go out, and I suppose we're very. You've seen us Brits. We politely follow the rules. We queue. We do this. We do that.
Sure.
We're all sort of lined up nicely, but there's the odd ones that are going against it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, everyone's following. And to be fair, everyone's it's the first week was probably the hardest. Just getting into the habit of working from home and just keeping yourself occupied.
Yeah.
But everyone's talking to each other. Across the street, we're allowed, for an hour's worth of exercise a day. Go for a good walk, and most people are, being really friendly. I think it's kind of giving everyone a new take on life.
Yeah.
Slowed everyone down.
Right.
So I've got a good feeling at the end of this, there's going to be hopefully, a slightly different mentality.
Well, let me ask you this, because your prime minister is recovering from it as well. I thought England was taking more of an approach like Sweden was, where if you're weak and feeble and you're a high risk, we're going to lock you down. Everyone else, go about your business. And
but in the herd immunity, that was something right from the word go. They said herd immunity is what they're aiming for, and everyone was up in arms about it.
Yeah.
But all they're doing with the lockdown is trying to flatten the curve. So, because obviously, we have the NHS is under pressure over the winter time anyway.
Yeah.
So they're trying to let that sort of wave go, so they're best prepared to deal with the new wave. So it's going to happen. It's not as if this is going to, locking everyone up is just going to sort it out. It's just going to help take the pressure off the hospitals. And also, we've had a lot of the exhibition centres in London and Birmingham and that taken, and they've been converted into hospitals. I think 4,000 or 5,000 bed hospitals.
Yeah.
Ready for obviously when the restrictions are lifted.
Gotcha. So it's like a ghost town. It's like a ghost town everywhere, right?
It is. Yeah. It's quite eerie. It's like going back. I was chatting to Barry McCarthy the other day, and he said it was like going back to the 70s.
Right.
And exactly that. There's no cars whizzing around. Everyone's on foot. Everyone's got a bit of time for each other as well, which is good. So,
which is nice. Yeah. Well, I'm actually surprised that like DHL and UPS, they're not picking up from you guys. I mean, every day I have like UPS and everyone flying down my street delivering. No one wants to go out, so they're the essential workers.
The deliveries are going. The delivery people are out working, but obviously they're only delivering the essential items.
Right. Not PDR tools.
No, PDR tools and carts probably not up there on the list of essentials.
Gotcha.
Essential to us, but it's just sort of tone that down a touch. But we're just cool.
Well, we got a competition this week. Not a competition. We have a what are we calling it?
It's just for fun. Ultimately.
Yeah, we're doing a thing, and you know what? We have 3 companies this week, which is PDR Finesse, Anson, and Blehm, which is offering free shipping. And I was going to see if TDN was going to be a candidate for that, but I think each week we're going to do 3 different companies. So we'll wait a little bit, a week or 2 before we bring on TDN, and hopefully you'll be up and running by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, because what we're going to do is we're doing a competition, a contest, not a competition. Yeah. So whoever buys from the PDR tool companies that we list this week, they show their receipt, and then they're entered into a raffle for a prize.
Okay, cool.
So we'll keep you guys in mind. We don't want to keep you too long. We're actually near the end of our show. We're a little bit late. Yeah. We had Hail Trace on this week talking about all the storms that are about to hit us.
Nice. Yeah, it's all ramping up over there, isn't it?
It is, finally. Yes.
Getting started, yeah.
Yeah, it's looking like an above average year. So that's good news.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, good for everyone. Let's hope that there's a little pot of gold at the end of this this rainbow.
Exactly.
It's out there, and that's excellent news.
Ship to the United States?
What?
Sorry, mate.
You can't ship to the United States, huh?
We can't, because of the furlough rules. We're not allowed to basically work. That's the rules of furlough for the government. For the government to cover our 80% of our wages, we're not allowed or not supposed to work. So it's done. I think it's 3 weeks at a time. So I'm just at the end of my 3 weeks on Monday, and then obviously we'll be re-furloughed again. But it's because it's early days, everything's up in the air. No one quite knows all the rules and regulations, So we're just sort of taking every day as it comes, and we're keeping busy, doing some online courses, and just sort of trying to develop ourselves. So when we come out of this, we're that much, well, hopefully a little bit smarter.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, Kevin, we thank you for coming on for the few minutes that we had you, and we'll check back with you. We got plenty of time now to sit around and talk to each other, so we'll have you on.
I'll wait for the call.
Exactly. All right, Kevin.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
All right, be safe. Bye now.
See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
All right, Mr. Kevin Andrews from TDN Tools. We'll get him on board with the discount as well for our English fellows out there.
They have to ship, though.
Yeah. So, there's plenty of people throughout Europe that they ship to. Yeah, that's where their market is.
Our Europe fellows, they're going to need same thing. I mean, they're just as hurt as we are here in the U.S.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of worldwide problem.
Can I circle back around to my question to you, John? With the insurance companies, they're going to do more photo estimating.
Most likely.
And can that be an advantage for our guys? You think?
For those of you that are already sharp with your office, yes. For those of you who absolutely positively refuse to do anything in your office but the bare minimum, you're screwed. And I'm just going to be brutal about this because this year is brutal. If you have an attitude of screw you, get somebody in my door, they're going to leave that car sit outside your building for months. Okay? Yeah. That's just the way it's going to be because the ball's in their court. This is a global problem that has been created and pushed. And this massive thing is only people who are going to survive this are major corporations. Well, guess what? Your insurance company is. That's not a mom and pop. State Farm isn't a mom and pop. They don't live paycheck to paycheck. You do.
Right.
The power is in their court. They know you're too much of a chicken to bill your customer for a $4,000 repair and then instruct your customer how to follow their state laws to get reimbursed. That's ultimately what us repairers are going to end up turning to in the next 5 to 10 years. But
he keeps freezing up.
Yeah, he's got a bad internet connection.
Flat out refuse to. Oh, but if you kind of refuse to figure out how to do this through photo and through the internet, you get no choice.
Yeah.
It's going to be that way.
Bubble Tech RX.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, I want to mention one other thing before we sign off here is there's something very cool coming to Mobile Tech RX, and they're going to be adding a calendar to it. Hopefully by midsummer, hopefully somewhere around there.
Very cool.
Yep. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the credit card approval.
And credit
card and calendar. Once they have that, it's fully.
Yep. Being able to remote bill will be much needed, especially right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
No touch billing.
Well, okay. Well, listen, guys, we're at the end of our show here. We're at the 1 hour mark. So, we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you get on to PDR Contractors and get on their list. And also don't forget to get your CBD oils for all your aches and pains and your creaks and cracks that are going on.
Do us a favor. Get on, your Apple. If you're on your Apple device or whatever device you subscribe to our show.
Yes.
So please push that subscribe button. We really appreciate when you guys do that and get all your information. And we're trying to make things better. And this is the time to listen to us is when you get downtime.
Yeah. So Daniel, what do you got to say, man?
Level up your tools.
Don't do stupid stuff.
And keep it stiff.
Visit AnsonPDR.com for the largest selection for just about all your PDR tools, where you'll find hog glue and hog tabs.
Mobile Tech RX, the app that helps you make more money.
Don't forget to grab your Magnatech mat, available at most PDR tool distributors. Thanks for listening.